Petramale. I'm a professional boxing trainer here in Los Angeles. This is my gym, Petramale Boxing. I work with pro boxers, pro MMA fighters, and we're gonna get ready to train. So I want you to work hard. Let's get ready. Let's work. Let's go.
You're not waiting for me, right?
Welcome to Buzz Talk Live Toss Up Tuesday. We are now streaming live across multiple platforms. My guest tonight grew up in Kingston, New York, and became a professional boxer in the super welterweight class. Although a shortened career, Steve Petramale recorded most of his wins by knockout. He has a training facility in California, training boxers, MMA fighters, and celebrities for movie roles. He is a top-level boxing and striking trainer. He is well known and respected among other trainers and fighters worldwide. Steve is one of the best and has worked with the top fighters around. He lends his students the tricks of the trade in world championship boxing. Steve also gives back to the homeless as he cooks and hands out prepared meals for the community every week before the pandemic hit our country. Steve is a true humanitarian. Use that chat and let's train with Steve. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great, and I got to tell you, thank you for that very nice intro. Makes me sound pretty important.
Oh, you are important, man. You are important. Just getting to know you and your background and what you're all about and what you give back to the community is off the charts. And you should be proud of yourself, your family too. You know, that's great. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So here we are. You have a gym. You're training the community, and you're training professionals, and you're cross training MMA and boxing and this and that, and you've been involved with that for many years, right? Yes,
I've had my gym, Petramale Boxing, for 21 years now, and I've trained, the best world champions to just training housewives for fitness and things like that. It's my, it's my passion. It's my thing. I love doing it. And, it's not work. When you're doing something you like, it's not considered.
Absolutely. That's one of the keys in life. If you like what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Exactly.
You've been involved with the MMA fighters,
Yes.
and let's talk about boxing versus MMA. And I know there's obviously the obvious difference is that the ring and how they fight and all that. So let's see you describe.
Well, there's a lot of controversy now thinking MMA has taken over boxing. Because it's like more popular, and I gotta tell you, your younger generation knows more MMA fighters than they do boxing.
Yeah,
but it's sort of boxing has declined. It's really fallen down. And what I'm saying is the boxing in the '80s, MMA wouldn't touch it. It wouldn't even come close. I mean, these fights that put on with the undercards were amazing. Now we get fights that are. The big difference between boxing then and boxing now is especially the big pay-per-view fights is when we have fights now, you really know who's going to win. They might do this 24/7 manipulated infomercial thinking the other guy has a chance, but it's really just another.
So what you're saying is now with the fights.
Now, boxing now is not these great even matches. If you look at some of these top pay-per-views, they're an 8-1 favorite, a 12-1 favorite, a 15-1 favorite.
Right.
But they're selling it as an even match.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is you really do know who's going to win, but you're hoping maybe the other guy can do something. You're rooting. You want this fight.
Yeah.
Where in the 80s, when Leonard fought Hearns, nobody knew who was going to win. When Leonard fought Duran, nobody knew who was going to win.
Yeah.
That was the excitement. You really didn't know they were even matches, and everybody stepped up and wanting to fight. So, like right now, Tyson Fury is a heavyweight. They're talking about Anthony Joshua, fighting a 2-fight deal instead of Deontay Wilder. But they're talking 2021. And I know the pandemic has something to do with it, but we never waited this long.
No.
Sugar Ray Leonard lost to Roberto Duran in June of 1980. The rematch was in November.
Right.
They jumped right back in there.
With all the sports that are all disruptive too. I mean, baseball and basketball and all, I'm sure boxing suffers too, with the training and everything, because you get yourself and your body into a level of fighting level. And then all of a sudden, boom, you got to stop, and you can't do that. And then
exactly.
It disrupts
and that was the thing. Dana White put on a show, and they had to cancel it, and then he finally did for the UFC. But I was saying at the time, how are these guys training without breaking the rules of the social distancing?
Right.
Because, you're grappling, you're striking, you're on top of each other.
Yeah.
So
it's tough. Your gym is open though, right? You're in California, and
we're open to a very slow transition.
Right.
Most of my trainers want to come back, but the clientele is skeptical. And here's another thing with gyms and things. It's part of your lifestyle, part of your schedule. When this thing hit, my partner and I said, we're going to have to start all over, because people changed their programming. You have a routine going to that gym every day.
Right.
So, 3 months go by and you're not going, you're not going to be like, oh, the switch is back on. Let's go back to
yeah, right.
You're not. You already have a different routine now you're doing. So we really, we might have to go with new clientele and things like that. Like I said, it's a very slow transition.
Yeah.
And it's still a little scary in certain areas. We don't know enough yet.
Yeah. It's a part of reworking the whole, training, facility, and how, you go to a supermarket and they got everything, separated with the cash register. I can just imagine, with your gym, how you're following the guidelines and you're trying to, with because you have to breathe, you have to, you're exerting energy and all of that. So face masks, and all that. It's crazy what you got to go through.
Exactly.
But so tell me about the gloves behind you there before we forget.
These are official professional fight gloves. They're actually my son's, and they were what we used to train during the pandemic here at my home while I was the in-home school teacher. He needed some activity, and he gave me a hard time every day. But
there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So, in the beginning, I was saying about your shortened career and to touch on that a little, but you found that in boxing back then, the corruption. You want to touch on the corruption and why you left?
It's really, the sport is great. The business is not too good.
Yeah.
And there's just so many things that go on. And my main reason I stopped, like I said, I was a fighter out of New York. I came out to Los Angeles, and I ended up, training. And I was like, I need a man. You got to really have a manager to fight for you, say yes or no. And I didn't. So I took a fight on my own. And it was my last pro fight. I feel I won every round, dominated. They gave me a draw. The place booed. It was a hometown guy.
Who did you train with? Or back then, Tyson had Customata, and then back then at that time, who was the guy out of New York?
In New York, I was with a few trainers, but I trained with two main trainers. I trained with Victor Valley when I first started turning pro, who was the trainer of Jerry Cooney, who a lot of people think that guy was not that good of a fighter. He was a great fighter. He battled with substance abuse and alcoholism, and he's sober now, but he was an amazing fighter. And at that time,
So what I remember about Jerry Cooney was there at that time when he was fighting, and there was just things that were circulating around the community, and that he was a pushover. He had a glass jaw, that whole thing, and is any of that true?
No, it's
He's a big guy.
Jerry's
very
glass
tall,
jaw
very tall.
was his jaw to his addictions.
Yeah.
The problem is being a white fighter in a predominantly dominated sport, by mainly, especially the heavyweights, was, black. I mean, they wanted to find flaws in this guy, and he was destroying it. I mean, I've been in boxing close to 40 years now, and I've seen them all in the gyms or in whatever. And to this day, and I told Jerry, I was on one of his shows, that I never to this day seen a man punch like that guy did. The guy it was freakish what he could do. I mean, I seen sparring partners. We were training at the Concord Hotel in Kiamish Lake. I don't know if you know, it's by Elmville, New York, but we were there in camp, and they would fly sparring partners in every day. And I'd say 75% were flying out that same night. They'd get knocked out cold and fly out. They were paying $500 a day.
Wow.
So guys don't want to get sent home, but that's what he was a beast. And,
he was a big boy too. How tall was Jerry Cooney?
Jerry's probably at least 6'5". He might even be, I'd say he's 6'5".
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a trained fighter from Victor Valley. Victor Valley built this guy to a fighting machine, which he don't get the credit. He's one of the greatest trainers of all time. And, trainers today like Freddie Roach and this stuff, people love him. I worked with him 3 months. He's a nice guy, but he's not a teacher.
Right.
He has made guys, and they go through a routine. I've never seen the guy teach something. Go, hey, come here. When he does that, you do this. I still haven't seen it. Where Victor Valley, when you left training with him, you learned something every day. Yeah. Every day you learn something and go, wow. I mean, the knowledge was unbelievable.
Now, I mean,
guys studied the sport. Like they studied it.
Yeah, no.
Today these trainers are watching stuff on YouTube, and they walk in a gym with some pads, and it's they're considered a trainer. There's no qualification to be a trainer. Anybody can be a trainer.
So most trainers, I mean, just to go back, because you were boxing in the era of Mike Tyson, correct?
Yes.
So, but he was in a different class.
Yes, he was during me. More of his earlier career was during when I was fighting. Yeah.
Yeah. He was incredible. That guy, I remember watching him. I used to watch a lot of boxing as a kid. And that guy was a machine, like you were saying about.
He was a machine, but I'm gonna address that. I think he's one of the most overrated heavyweights, and the reason was he had ingenious management. I was in a barbershop in Kingston, New York, with a guy named Peyton Shear, who was a matchmaker, and they called there.
Right.
And they wanted to get. And he was on the phone, and he's saying, I can't promise that. He hung up the phone. He's going back down. I'm not going to bore you with it. But he just said, that was Mike Tyson's people. And they want to put him on the Billy Costello, Lonnie Smith card. And I think Mike had about 9 pro fights at the time.
Oh, wow.
And he said, they want to get him on the Lonnie Smith, Billy Costello card in Madison Square Garden. But they want me to guarantee a guy that can't last more than 1 round. They want me. And he goes, I can't guarantee that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell you, when you have great management, they make sure that if you got these skills, you're going to look good doing it, and the opponent's not going to fight back.
Well, Mike,
and it's happened a lot of times with Mike. I mean,
Mike had Customata. He had Customata that nurtured him, right? I mean, that guy. No, I mean. Well,
I know I'm going to probably get a lot of slack from this. I'm not the biggest fan of Customata, and this is the reason why. I trained as an amateur with Floyd Patterson, who was probably the biggest protege at Customata. So I trained that style, peekaboo. It's called peekaboo.
Peekaboo.
And as a pro, I briefly did train with Kevin Rooney, who was from Catskill, who took over for Customata training mine. So I know that style. I'm not a fan of it. There's some huge flaws. The main 2 flaws. You can't go backwards. When Mike was backed up, when Buster Douglas pushed him, he was a fish out of water. He didn't know what to do. Holyfield backed him up.
Yeah,
he didn't know what to do. That's number 1.
Right.
Number 2 is the way you bend them legs. It's physically demanding. It's good stuff, but you can't do it 12 rounds.
Yeah.
And if you notice, when Mike got in opposition better, And like I said, I'm going to take a lot of slack because people think he's amazing. But when Mike got better and he fought Bone Crusher Smith, Mitch Green, these guys, he did nothing. He didn't dominate these guys with these vicious knockouts because they weren't human punching bags. Wow. They were savvy enough to get out of the way of the punches and things like that. Right. So I'm not the biggest Mike Tyson fan.
No, I hear you. I mean, you know, and just I met Mike Tyson back in the day, and I have a picture of him up on my wall, and there's a story behind that picture, because it was when I was working at the Plaza Hotel, and they used to do the boxing weigh-ins at that time, and you know, it was I forget who he was fighting, but he was at the height. He was at the pinnacle of his career.
He was in I remember him in the New York Post every day as a celebrity, not even a fighter, but go ahead.
Yeah, and so I rode up on the elevator with him and Donald Trump. So we get to the ballroom level, we exit the ball, and they were handing out 8x10 pictures of the fighters. So I grabbed one of my, because I mean, you know, at that time, you know, Mike was like the man. He was the champ. So I grabbed the picture and I says, "Hey, champ, you know, can you sign this for me?" And he says, "Yeah, sure, you know." So I says, "You know what? Can you make it out to my wife Anna?" So he goes, "Yeah, okay." And you know, he's scribbling, and then he hands it back to me. I'm like, "Yeah, have a great way and whatever." I get back and I look down at the signature and the two, and it says "to Adam." So. Yeah.
Hey, I bet you've been looking to kick his butt ever since he did that to you, too.
I was like, that son of a bitch. No.
That's great. Look. So let me ask you, do you have any buddies, Adam, that you said, "Hey, I want you to know I met Mike Tyson, I got you this"?
I did have a friend named Adam at the time, but, you know, I just took it. I took it back, and I was like, this is going to be a story, you know.
Exactly. You could have exited out and put Anna and go, "Hey, I tried."
No. I didn't want to spoil it.
No, it's actually more valuable now.
Yeah, right. That's funny stuff. So yeah, I mean, so that kind of like spun you into the business that you're in, right? I mean, you kind of...
I did everything. I did construction. You know, as a young guy, you know, I did every job in the world. But you know, when I was out here, things started taking off with like white collar boxing, and I went to a LA Fitness and gave a proposal, you know, a little resume, and they hired me, and that's where I started. And then I started getting clients, and next thing you know, I had my gym. So it all came together, cool. You know, through God's will.
And you're located right in Studio City, right? You're right down a block.
No, I'm in like sort of, I'm in the heart of Los Angeles. I'm in sort of almost West Hollywood. It would be considered Hollywood, but almost West Hollywood. I'm right down the street from CBS. You know, I'm right in the heart of Hollywood.
All right.
We have every actor, producer, all the people that want to be important are there.
Yeah. We got a clip for later in the show with Neil Patrick Harris that I'll run, but that's funny stuff.
I know that one.
So, you know, with boxing, you know, there's a lot of care that you have to take care of your hands and your knuckles and your weapons, you know, your fists. And and a lot of people don't know exactly how to do the hand wrappings, and there's a lot of techniques, but after I saw your technique, it was like, wow, this is I never knew how they actually did the pad on. Well, let me roll a clip. Here we go.
Steve Petramale here, Petramale Boxing. What we're going to do right now is just wrap some hands. Hand wraps are very important. The biggest misconception is people think they wrap their hands to pad the knuckles. It's for the fine bones in your wrist. One of the most important things is the person who's getting their hands wrapped got to keep their fingers open like Alejandro has. See how his hand is wide and open. If he closes, I'm going to cramp his hand. He won't be able to make a fist. This is very important. This is what protects our hands. These hands become weapons when we learn how to put our legs and body into the punches. So let's go. Also have your wrap rolled. Very important. Do not have it hanging down. Okay? Keep that hand straight and wide. Okay? There's no exact way to do it, but my main thing is I'm covering the whole hand. And I come up high on the fingers with a little padding to make it compact. So I'm high on the fingers here. Okay? And what I'm doing is I'm just padding this a little bit, because then it's all going to come compact together. Be like a weapon. Okay? So, as you notice, my wraps are rolled, like I said. Okay? So we're going to close this off. There. Now we're going to go through the fingers. Okay? I go here and I come through. A lot of guys like to twist. I prefer to twist only if I'm wrapping for a fight or something like that with gauze and tape. Okay? Now I go around again. And see how it's pulling that down? Very important. Now it's coming down to the knuckles. Okay? And I keep it taut and wide. See? Now it's coming down. Okay, now I go back up. Here, I'm going to push that down a little bit. Here, go around the thumb. And then we make a fist. And then we just tuck this in. And if you want to use athletic tape, you can. But now that's a weapon. Okay? He can punch without hurting his hand.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, you really go and take the effort in showing exactly the finger wrappings and how I never knew you go between the fingers like that, you know. So when did you grow up like was your dad a box? I mean, is there?
No,
any history in your
it's a
family?
good question. He was into boxing like nobody. He was so into it, and he broke his arm as at like 10 or 11 years old working in a brickyard.
Oh wow.
And so his arm got broken. He had a cast. And to go back to work, he had to have the cast off. So we took it off. So his arm never healed. So it stays like this. He can't straighten it.
Oh,
But
okay.
his passion was boxing. And he even told me as a kid, he said, as long as you learn how to use your hands. And he used to hold his hands, you know, and that. But everything he told me was basic stuff, but he's spot on to whatever I've been taught. Like he never, like even though he didn't, he knew what he was talking about. He's seen things that were, you know, basic, but going this, because he always told me, because you got to know how to jab. The jab is everything.
The jab is
and
everything.
You
yeah.
even hear people today, they don't emphasize that. Steven, go the other room now.
Yeah. So when what was I saying about the your dad and that? But you know, part of this show is all about the chats, and we do have some chats and some questions that came in. And one of them in particular is interesting. It's from F. Solicito. How dangerous is someone who is professionally trained when faced with a mugger or an attacker?
Well,
because
I
you got to remember,
you
have weapons now, and they're
a mugger and an attacker isn't going to touch gloves and go, "Hey, are you ready?" So that's the only thing. It's like, you know, if I'm walking down the street, you know, and I'm on my phone or just looking, and somebody comes behind me and hits me in the head with a bottle, I don't think my boxing is going to do anything. But you know, if it does help, you know, it is a sense of confidence where, you know, I'm walking down, and sometimes I've been in bad neighborhoods where, you know, who knows what, and that, you know, that if something does happen, you can at least try your best
yourself.
to use the tools that you were taught to do in hand-to-hand combat. So it's definitely helpful, but you know, it doesn't give me, like I said, it doesn't give me an advantage of somebody that's sneaky or going to rob you or anything like that. Like, you know, if anybody ever pulled out a knife or a gun, they're getting anything they want.
So,
you know, even a knife, you don't mess with a knife.
So with the people that you train now, getting back to the different styles of boxing and MMA. Now, MMA obviously is the word on the street today in boxing or MMA. Boxing is how would you clarify boxing versus MMA? I mean, it's two different styles, obviously. But boxing.
Oh, you mean as disciplines themselves, as sports or fighting styles, or?
Well, I mean, you know, I would think, you know, with MMA, it's more of a street fight. You know, you're in there, you're kicking.
Yeah,
you know,
it is. And here's the thing. That's a great point. But the thing is MMA has evolved so much. I trained a fighter, you know, and his name is Victor Belfort. He was a Brazilian fighter from Brazil. He came here at 18. I made this guy. He didn't know how to fight. And the reason I'm telling you, like, he trained with me 1 year. He lived in my house. We trained. I transformed him into this striking phenom.
Wow.
Now, the reason I'm telling you this isn't but he put boxing on the map for MMA. So now I don't know if you remember Hoist Gracie when he fought in the UFC, and everybody's like, "Wow, Hoist the best." Nobody knew how to use their hands. There's nobody in the UFC or MMA now that don't train boxing or know how to use the basics. I'm not going to say they're brilliant boxers and they can hang with boxers, but they all know how to strike and they all know how to get away of a punch and things like that.
Right.
It's evolved so much. So the boxing is a very crucial, very important part of MMA, and these guys are all doing it. And I will say, Victor is the one that really transformed when you see how effective it was. Everybody's because not putting the other martial arts down, but you got Taekwondo and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in the actual Taekwondo, you don't hit someone in the head, so it's not even practical. And there's so much different karate and all this stuff where they never spar. They don't do a 3-minute round. Yeah. They'll just do some drills in the mirror with an instructor and they bow. And
right.
Literally, that's why, like I said, my father used to say, he goes, I don't care how good somebody kicks. You know how to use your hands. Nobody's going to kick you.
Exactly.
And it's really true because if you see it, these guys, the best fighters box. So go ahead.
Now with MMA and boxing, it all starts with your base. Like in a lot of sports,
yes.
You got to have good balance because it's kinetic energy that you throw a punch. And I'm going to run something that you were on National Geographic
Fight Science,
and they put you up against. I only have the clip of you, but they put you up against.
I was against karate, taekwondo,
right.
A kickboxer, and I forget maybe one other.
And they were going through. They were going through all these methods of measuring your punch or the force, right?
Well, they broke down the style of how each discipline throws that.
Right.
Excuse me. And then they measured it on a crash test dummy with scientific data and all that with a computer.
Let's take a look.
When Steve's 1,000-pound punch lands, it sends the brain sliding inside the skull. A chain reaction occurs. The skull accelerates and decelerates rapidly, but the brain, floating in cerebrospinal fluid, keeps moving. The brain recoils toward the back of the head, causing trauma from the rear. It then snaps to the front of the skull, multiplying the damage. Trauma from both sides. Neurotransmitters fire. An electrical storm short-circuits the nerves. Doctors call it a severe concussion. We call it a knockout. Technology confirms legend. The one-punch knockout is real. But how do they do it? The secret of boxing is known as kinetic linking, a perfect flow of energy through the entire body. Motion capture shows that the punch starts not in the fist, but the feet. The rear foot drives backwards into the ground. Like links in a chain, the energy travels up the leg, twists through the hips, and into the large muscles of the back, chest, and shoulders. Like the coiling and cracking of a whip, the energy multiplies through leverage as it flows through the body, travels out the arm and fist, and snaps into the opponent. And yes, size does matter. The bigger the puncher, the more mass in the whiplash.
You put a hurt on that guy. But I mean, your measurement is that they call you a sledgehammer, right? Is that your?
Well, that's what they call the equivalent to getting hit in the face with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, getting hit in the face.
I guess this might be bragging a little bit, but the guys who did the testing there, I was at that time, I was a little heavier, but not that heavy. I probably weighed about 170 in that video. And the guys who did the testing said they just the week before they tested the entire Olympic team.
Yeah.
Boxing team, and he said that I punched harder than every single person.
Is that right?
Wow. Yeah, he told me. He said you outdid the heavyweights and everybody. Nobody came close to it.
The heavyweights? Wow.
Yeah, just what he told me. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
So now with the MMA stuff, you're connected with some Asia stuff. You travel the world, and you go to Thailand.
Yeah, I've been.
You go all over the place.
I've been in, Brazil, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I've been, and a lot of throughout Asia, a lot of different countries throughout Asia, and that's what.
And one of I have a promo here, and then I'll run a class that you trained when you were over at Asia.
Okay.
Boxing is, I feel, the finest part of striking. It's connecting the legs with the hands and precision punching and precision knockout. The difference with boxing, what I feel compared to the other martial arts, Thai fighting, kickboxing, things like that, is the footwork. Footwork is so crucial and important, and it's to get in and out with balance and precision and punch with power. And I feel it's so crucial and important. I'm not disrespecting any of the other striking, but there's a reason these guys make millions of dollars when they compete, because it's the elite form of fighting. Hey, my name is Steve Petramale, former pro boxer. On my gym, Petramale Boxing. We'll be heading back to Asia for the 4th time for another seminar tour. We'll be all over Thailand, China, Hong Kong, you name it, I'm going. Can't wait to get back there. We're going to teach everything. We're going to go from footwork to hand speed to counter punching to knocking people out. So I hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, good stuff. So that was the promo piece that led into the Asia tour that you did. Now, when you went over to Asia, the class was pretty large. I mean, we're going to run the clip here, but I mean, where did these people come from? From all around that surrounding area?
Yeah, MMA is huge over the world, but for some reason, Thailand, I think the clip you're talking about might even be from Phuket, either Phuket.
It was a class. Yeah, well, I'm going to run it here. It's a class that you.
But these are pro fighters and people who want to train MMA, and it's huge over there. I mean, some of the classes sometimes do classes. Mine was a seminar, so they flew me in and they bill it up and things like that. I make pretty good money on that.
Yeah.
So, and it's great because it's like what I enjoy. And then, I do that, but I teach. There's like in the Tiger Muay Thai, I had a lot of pro fighters in that actual seminar because they want to bring their game up. And, the boxing and MMA, like I said, it's so important. But you have mostly the guys teaching the boxing are martial artist guys trying to make up their own boxing of what they think is boxing.
So let's go back to some of the chats, because I had a couple of chats that came in, and
great.
Z-Man, who is the most overrated fighter?
The most overrated fighter as of right now, there's a lot. I'd have to say, I wouldn't say Floyd Mayweather's the most overrated fighter as a fighter, but as being considered one of the greatest all time, I think he's super overrated. I just think the guy, everybody thinks he's this defensive genius, and I think that he just don't commit. So that's where his defense, he throws one punch at a time, 3 feet away.
What'd you think of Sugar Ray?
I never was a fan of Sugar Ray Leonard. You're talking about Sugar Ray Leonard.
Sugar Ray Leonard, yeah. Lightning quick hands.
Well, there's two Sugar Rays. But I never was a fan because I was a Roberto Duran fan.
Right.
But I look at it now, this guy is amazing.
Right.
And here's what I'm going to say. Like, people say, well, Floyd Mayweather could be one of the greatest. You are great by beating greats. Ray Leonard beat Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran.
Right.
And stopped 2 out of 3.
Right.
Who did Floyd Mayweather beat on that level? Not even close.
Yeah.
That's how great Ray Leonard was. Yeah. And I think the 80s was the best decade ever. Oh, yeah,
it was the best
boxing.
Decade for boxing. Absolutely.
And Ray Leonard was fighter of the decade.
Yeah.
So I think that says how great Ray Leonard was, whether you like him or not. I mean, I love the guy now. I watch him, I go, wow.
Now, when you talk about greatest of all time, you got to, I mean, Ali?
Ali's probably, here's the thing. I'm not, it's really tough because you got to go with the heavyweights. The reason Ali's so great, one, he was the greatest self-promoter boxing ever had. I mean, he made boxing.
Yeah,
you got to remember, when Ali came on the scene in the 60s, it was dying. You had Floyd Patterson, Sonny Liston. These guys, nobody was charismatic. Nobody had personalities. Rocky Marciano was your white guy that everybody loved, but he was gone.
Right.
So, and this guy came on the scene and was amazing. And the things he did and everything else. And the other thing was he fought everybody. Like, there's nobody where you can go, well, Ali avoided that guy. No, Ali fought everybody. And if you gave him a tough time, he gave you a rematch and maybe two.
Ali was
Joe
like
Frazier
the biggest trash talker. I mean, my God, that guy.
But now
he backed it up. He backed it up.
Well, the thing is, though, here's the thing with Ali. We have trash talkers today that, they really mean, or they try and say this graphic stuff that they're physically going to do this. Ali was funny. I mean, that guy was so witty. He had you dying laughing. I mean, it was, and nobody did this. He was a genius.
He was.
And I couldn't imagine that guy. You got to remember, that guy didn't have these 24/7, 6-week promo TV show before a pay-per-view fight.
Exactly.
He did his own
exactly
thing. It's pretty amazing.
So
anyway, as the most overrated fighter, I'd have to say
Floyd Mayweather.
Or Floyd Mayweather as being one of the greatest fighters. He's a good fighter. But just for everybody consider him one of the greats all time, I don't think he's in the top 50. So
I'm gonna run this clip, and so now the people that, or the fighters that come to this class, what level of fighters do you get?
It's beginner. You could have never put on a pair of gloves, or you could hold 3 belts in boxing or MMA.
Oh, really? So
that's the way I break it down. This is an open class.
It's an open class.
I break it down from the structure to that, and then it gets a little more complex. But it's really the biggest thing in boxing. It is the biggest thing, and nobody does it anymore. Is the basics. Is what you said, that balance and alignment and everything else, where nobody does that because most of the guys teaching don't even know.
Yeah.
Everything comes from the legs up, like you said. So most of the people don't know the legs.
Right.
But go ahead. I don't want to hold you up.
Check it out.
I'm real basic, and I'm telling you, to get the proper balance and step with a jab and get out with the proper stick is harder than throwing an 8-punch combination. It's harder than throwing an 8-punch combination, because an 8-punch combination, once you got that, it all comes together.
Exactly.
It's that alignment. So go ahead.
Thank you, man.
Hands are here. You're going to hear me say gloves to the ceiling. When I say that, that means these hands are parallel with the ceiling. Okay? Get them hands up over there. Elbows together, keep them in. Can't bring it back. The key is my base. Elbows in, hands up high. Listen, do not push this on. My step is the jab. What I'm doing is 1, 2, and as this recoils, I turn to the side. 1, 2, and I hook to the side. Good. Again, 1, 2, hook. Watch. Boom, boom, boom. 1 step, 3 punches. Jab. Boom. I like it here. Pick it up. Switch. 1, 2. 1, 2, hook. Step back. Step back. Step back. Move. Everything lines up center. Jump.
It's like calisthenics. It's great. I mean, you go through the whole gamut of actually throwing a punch and the balance. And again, balance is the major part of that.
Yeah, I tell people today, if you have balance and a good jab, you can be a world champion. That's the main 2 things. It's very important. And if you see all the great champions, that's what they had.
Yeah. We forgot one fighter, George Foreman.
George Foreman.
Another heavyweight.
George Foreman is amazing.
Yeah.
He was amazing. I there's a documentary out right now. I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's on Amazon or something, and it's supposedly amazing.
Oh,
and
check it out.
And I've always said, like, if anybody has a movie about their life story, it's George Foreman. George Foreman was a troubled kid, and I don't know if it was Eisenhower who started a youth corps program for troubled kids. So that was an outlet for him instead of going to a reform school or whatever. So that he joined a boxing gym in Houston, Texas, and I think he only had like 20 amateur fights.
Wow.
And he went to the Olympics and won a gold medal. And then he won the gold medal, and he was a tune-up fight for Joe Frazier. It was a tune-up fight. Wow. And he came on the scene and just destroyed everybody. He lost to Ali. Then he lost to Jimmy Young. He had sort of a near-death experience, retired, came back at 44 or 45, laughing stock, became heavyweight champion of the world. But his biggest accomplishment is the George Foreman grill, and you had one.
The ultimate showman.
So he was amazing. George was amazing. Real deal fight.
But when he was boxing, because I remember when he was boxing, he was like, he played the role of the bad guy. Nobody really, when he came on the scene, he wasn't that, the
charismatic,
his character self that he is today. And with the George Foreman grill and everything. Back then, he was like.
Do you know why?
Badass.
Do you know why? He says that. He explains it. He wanted to be like Sonny Liston. He said, my biggest problem was I wasn't me. My role model was Sonny Liston. So I wanted to be this mean, hardcore guy and never smile. Yeah. And he said, so when I came back, I said, no, I'm going to be me. And he was amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah, no, he was, man. I mean, George Foreman, his punch
he's no
must
joke.
Have been like.
That
one.
Yeah, no, I actually, I know a guy who was his sparring partner and told me, like, you did not want to get hit with George. George, I mean, he was just a naturally.
His hands must have been like
strong guy.
Baseball mitt. I mean, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
Now this Phuket top team in Thailand that you're associated with. What's behind that now? Are these like highly trained fighters?
It's the same thing like Tiger Muay Thai. You got to mix. You have people that fly. There's a street in Phuket, Thailand that is just fight gyms. There's got to be 25 fight gyms. But Tiger Muay Thai is way up on top of the hill. And then you got all these gyms going down, and the last one on the bottom is Phuket. And they're the two biggest ones. Right. They're sort of competitors. But in between, you have all these Muay Thai gyms and all these fight gyms and everything else. But it's the same thing where you have fighters and you have, white collar guys. You got people who are upcoming fighters.
I have a picture. I have a picture of your gym, the area of where the ring is, and also you training one of those fighters.
Okay.
And I don't know who that fighter is, but he's all tatted up on one arm. But
I have no idea. I have to see it.
Yeah, no.
So
that's one thing about this show. You can't see what I do.
No, but I've trained, many UFC world champions.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah. So which ones off the top of your head?
Rodrigo Antonio Nogueira, Victor Belfort, Mauro Bustamante, Rashad Evans, Dan Henderson.
Oh my God.
There's got to be a lot more. I'm trying to think. Anybody who follows the sport knows everyone.
So talk to me about some of the celebrities. Now you're down the street from CBS, and the community is chock full of celebrities that are working in the area. And so I heard Beyonce came in one day.
No, I trained Beyonce. Yes, but I trained Beyonce in Atlanta. I was training Cuba Gooding.
Okay.
I was training Cuba Gooding Jr. Down in Atlanta. I was his personal trainer, so I would travel with him. So I was in Atlanta, and he was doing the movie called The Fighting Temptations. Okay. And his co-star was Beyonce. So she found out I was training him, and she started training with me every day. And she actually was a super class act, and
How was she physically and athletically?
she was athletic and everything else, but I gotta tell you, she was such a sweet person.
Yeah.
Where I've had issues with other celebrities that have a little status, and it's a nightmare. And I don't do well with that. I gotta tell you.
And who was the other guy from The Punisher?
That's John Bernthal. He's
John
a good friend
Bernthal.
of mine, and I trained him actually for the movie of what was it with Stallone and Grudge Match with Stallone and De Niro. But I trained him for a lot of different stuff, even some Punisher stuff and things like that. But
yeah, he's ripped up, man. He has.
Yeah, he's in shape. He works hard. I mean, that guy definitely could be a fighter. I mean, he's a character. Yeah, I mean, he spars. He does it all.
Oh wow!
I don't know if I should be saying that because probably his contract they don't want to.
No, they don't want him to do that.
But he's definitely real deal.
Oh man. So now I want to get into what you really do for the community. I was really inspired by this. Steve. You really when you told me that you cook every week for the homeless. That blew me away, man. I mean, who does this? Who does this?
I only told you that because you said once a year.
Well,
and
I thought it was a once a year gig, but you do this every freaking week.
Well, the thing is that's what I'm saying. I really don't tell anybody I do it. I've done it for a long time. I ended up going on social media because we needed to raise some money. But, I did this for a while, and I never took pictures or anything because I don't want these people to think I'm exploiting them to show what,
Right.
This became a bigger and bigger and bigger family.
Wow.
And we bonded with these people. They made friends among themselves. And how it started was my son played basketball in a park in Santa Monica, and we finished one day and there was homeless people there. And he said, we should bring some food for these people. So I said, okay. So I made some like good Italian, real New York deli.
Yeah, right.
And I think we had like 10 of them, and we brought them over, and the guy sat with us, and we made it. And we sat, and I got to tell you, they loved that I brought my kid with me. They were like, dude, you bring your kid? I was like, yeah, why? They're like, you don't understand. People don't talk to us. I said, no. So we sat and ate, and they go, you coming next week? And I go, yeah, I'm going to be here next week. I said, all right. So I go next week, and there's 20 people, the same 10 plus 10.
Wow.
And so I started going, and then one day, so they kept coming, and I started changing up a little bit, doing this. And one day I was cooking food here because I love to cook. I try to cook everything. And I just said, you know what? I was making food for my family. And I said, whatever I make for my family, I should be making for these people. There should be no difference. So I started making home-cooked meals. Like I said, baked ziti, meatballs, sausage and peppers. I make my own baguettes. We did
That's
salads.
incredible, man.
And I did it every week, and we started getting up to 150 people. The line would be down the street, but when I tell you a party, it was amazing because you knew they were homeless, obviously. But you were like, I've never seen these people so great. And I'm going to tell you something. There was never a napkin on the ground after, nothing. These people, people think
they cleaned up after themselves.
Because you're homeless, you might not be smart. No, these are some of the smartest people you ever meet, and some of the funniest and wittiest and just characters. And
I have a video I want to roll.
Great.
For this.
Okay.
And then I want to come back and talk to you a little bit more.
Okay, you got it. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. And I thank you for every one of these people here, Lord God. These are our brothers and sisters in Christ, and we are family. We are family. And I just want to ask you to bless every one of them here, Lord God. And bless this food, and bless this day, that we have a great lunch today together. And we ask you to bless it in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
In a perfect world, people everywhere, they could elevate above all fear. In a perfect heart, there'd be perfect love. I'm still looking for it in someone.
As you can see from the crowd here, everybody loves this food.
Ooh.
I'm grateful for family foods and Steve and his family.
In a perfect world, everybody knows that it comes around same as it goes. But the way it is the way it is.
Family food. I'm grateful that we got to feed them and that they're happy. That sort of thing.
Enjoy your meal. Thank you. You're welcome.
When they come up to me and tell me that it made their day, it's amazing.
Fun to make people smile.
That's incredible, Steve. I mean, for you to do that, as a business owner, and then you take the time out of training, and then you do this. I don't know what to say. I mean,
well, I don't. It's something like I told you. My work as a boxer is my passion. This is more of my passion. I love doing it. I really do. I enjoy
and a couple of the sports celebrities came on board, right? I mean,
we've actually John Bernthal, the Punisher, came out with his family.
Wow.
He's got 3 kids, his wife baked 150 cookies. They've come out probably at least a half dozen times. And they don't even know who he is, but he don't care because he's a regular guy and it just means so much. Yeah. But we had Sterling Shepard from the New York Giants and Saquon Barkley, one of the top running backs in the NFL, superstar. And these guys were amazing. They just, and they were thanking me. Like as they were serving the food, they would go, Steve, I go, thank you. I said, what, are you kidding me? Like they were just so blessed because they seen the response of these people. Like their spirit is, it's a feeling. It's not, you got to see it.
Yeah, no, I can just imagine, man. And what you do with them is incredible, but, keep it up, man. And you want to plug the
the thing is, let me just explain that they tried to arrest me for doing that because
the city of Santa Monica tried to arrest
City of Santa Monica tried to arrest me. They had the last day I went, they had cops in a perimeter where you'd think I was leader of a gang ready for a gang fight, and they were going to arrest me. They were going to fine me all kinds of money and things like that. The problem was, I still don't know the violation. People are saying it's health codes. It's not. You and I are allowed to go to that park and have a party every day for 150. As long as it's 150 or less, we can have a party every day. Okay. But they're really discriminating against them people because they're not dressed well. And it is a high-end neighborhood. There's some issues, but not with my event. We've never had a problem. I mean, if we had one fight, I'd tell you, never. Yeah. But, it's just – there's an old saying, no matter what you do, you'll find haters. And we found haters that, had more power than me. So, during the pandemic, I still wanted to get them food because they are the last on the list in the pandemic. And, I went out with prepackaged food, so they couldn't give me, and the cops still tried to shake me down. And listen, I want to emphasize something. I love the police. I support them 2,000%.
Absolutely.
So they were doing orders they were told. But I'm not anti-police. I want you to know they were doing their job. But it's just unfortunate that these people get brushed away every week, no matter where they go, whatever they do, they want to use the restroom. No, and they had their own thing. And our government said no, we're not going to do that.
That's all. I mean, that's crazy.
It really is. So that's what I don't know if that's the video, but that's what that was.
Yeah, no.
My organization, we became nonprofit in January because it ran me broke. But it's called familyfood.us.
Familyfood.us. And is there a link to GoFundMe?
There's a
there?
GoFundMe link there in a pay, or there's a GoFundMe and a Venmo link there.
Okay.
And actually, I think I have the shirt right
there. You go. You
but
got the shirt on.
Okay, so
self-promoting. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the chats. F. Salcedo, what a wonderful thing to do. The police are great. People are responding, and
great.
It's good that what you did, but.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to do it. I just, I can't afford to go to jail, especially during this pandemic and things like that.
Yeah.
So I can't afford it. There's a church that stepped up right now that's helping them out a little bit. I've heard from, so I see some of the homeless people and they're like, dude, the food ain't the same, but at least I say, hey, hang in there. I'm going to be back. So I don't want to, I really don't feel I was breaking any laws. I think it was more politics, but I would never break a law to do it. It's not, you can't say, because you think you're doing a good thing, you have the right to break a law. Sure. I didn't break any laws.
And so to wrap the night up, you had a wedding anniversary. Was it last year?
No, actually, it's crazy. That's going to be it's September 1st is going to be my 21st anniversary. So it'll be 2 years ago in this September 1st.
But I want you to set up the next clip that we're going to show.
Okay, so you want me to describe why it took place, or?
Well, because you're down the block from CBS.
Yes.
It's the Late Show with James Corden, right?
Yes.
And they do this segment called the Singing Grams or something.
Singing Telegrams.
Singing Telegrams.
And it's actually like a joke where they do parodies on different songs, and they'll find out something about you. So they were looking for somebody in my gym for that day. And I go, hey, that day actually is my wedding anniversary. And she's like, how many years? I go, 19. She goes, oh, we got to use you. And she's like, send me a picture. So I had to send them a picture because I got married. I was training fighters. I went to Brazil, and that's how I met my wife. So I married, my wife's Brazilian, and I married her, and now it's going to be 21 years ago. Wow. But I was training. That's how long I've been training fighters, just like, over 25 years.
25 years.
Took off
25 years.
And so that was when I did it. I sent her the picture from Brazil, and she's like, James and, they're going to come in. They can't wait to do it.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look.
I tell you, they were funny guys.
Let's take a look.
All right.
Rubber baby puppy.
Oh, you're warming up. You're warming up.
The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue.
The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue.
Eeny, meeny, decimini, uwala, wala, mini, eximini, zalamini, uwala, wall.
Yeah. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Benedict
Cumberbatch and Saoirse Ronan should be in a rom-com on Hulu. Who are we going to first? What's our first stop?
First, we're going to stop at a boxing studio, a boxing gym.
Yeah.
There's a woman named Sincha. There's a woman named Sincha.
And she sounds like a boxing move. Sincha.
She's celebrating her 19th wedding anniversary.
No way.
To her husband, Steve, who will be there as well.
Right.
He's in on it. She's not.
Oh, we're here. We're here.
Excuse us.
Sincha.
Hey. Hey, Sincha.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
Sincha, Steve, you have been married for 19 years. Incredible.
Yep.
And I'm James.
And I'm Neil.
And this is your Singing Telegram.
Let's do it. Push it.
Woo! Right.
You married back in '99.
And you are still together.
Today's the day to celebrate. You know what we mean. Anniversary,
anniversary. It's your anniversary. 19th anniversary. Let me bounce against the ropes. Yes, against the ropes. I just bounced against the ropes. Anniversary, anniversary. It's your anniversary. 19th anniversary. Your logo looks like Superman. Superman logo looks like Superman. It's your anniversary.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. No, you're in the wrong row. 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 Okay. Wow, that's a shoot. That's a shoot. It's all right.
Happy anniversary, got good water. Wow.
When I first saw it, when you told me that they did that, and I downloaded it, I was on the floor laughing. That's so funny, man.
They, I left out a big piece. My wife, that was a surprise for her. I obviously was in on it, but my wife had no idea what was going on. I told her I had to do an interview for something. I wanted her there. And I said, let's warm up boxing. So they came in unannounced, and that's why she's like, hey, like she do them both, She's like, because it's funny because she has been in the gym when celebrities come in, but they came in with the cameras and
right. They came in with the whole entourage, right?
She had no idea it was about her.
That's so
That's
funny.
Why,
That's so funny.
yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't know if they captured as much as surprise she was in, but she was really shocked.
Well, what a way to end the night, Steve. I really appreciate you coming on the show. You're blessed, man, with your humanitarian duties as a human being, and what you do in training and everything, man. I'm glad I know you.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a boxing announcer, Al Bernstein. You remember him? You know
the
him?
name sounds familiar. Yeah.
Well, he did fights, and he covered fights, and he was amazing because what he did was he could take, anybody can cover Leonard versus Duran. You know everything about it.
Right.
But he would take 2 4-round fighters that nobody knew either one. One from Tumbleweed, Iowa, the other one from Alaska.
Right.
And he could make that fight amazing. And that's what you did. And what I'm saying is you're true talent because, if you have, you really did your homework. You worked your butt off on this. And I just want to say, you're a true professional. And,
Thank you.
I'm sort of a nobody. I've done an interview, but you are amazing. So I want to say
thank you very much, Steve.
Pleasure and an honor. It
Sammy
really
Sosa.
is.
Sammy
You're
Sosa.
that level because you took something difficult and made it right, and it's hard. So I thank you.
Well,
very much.
look, the subject matter was easy for me because of there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to your story, and it was easy for me to put this together with the content that I had, and you're a stand-up guy, man. You tell like it is, and I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for stopping in tonight.
Have a good night. Take care.
All right. Wow. That was amazing, Steve. Again, off the charts person, and I'm lucky to know him. Sure is. I'm really glad I did this show with him tonight. So my next show is going to be on Sunday night. Sunday night, we're going to bring in Tom Johnson, who has interviewed all the top legends in Hollywood, dating back to Lucille Ball and, Ginger Rogers. I mean, he's been all over the place, and he has a lot of stories about major stars in Hollywood at the legendary stars. So tune into that on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay? That's all. And good night, America.